Hello my lovelies and welcome to Along the Lines, my knitty, crafty, foodie, fibery podcast, and welcome to my craft room where we never get bored. You go. What is the strangest myth or misconception you've ever heard about knitting, crochet, spinning, or whatever your more obscure craft of choice is? I was clearing around my room and I came across a spindle that I haven't touched in years, and it reminded me of a funny story I wanted to share. So here's the poor little spindle that's not getting used much. So it's quite a nice chunky spindle, and when I very first started spinning, before I accepted the fact that I much preferred spinning on a wheel, I had this in my hand luggage. We had spent Christmas with my family in Canada, and we got to the airport, and it was something like 2 days before the new year, so there actually weren't many people in the airport and probably not that many people flying that night, and there was some mess and some kerfuffle, and when we got to the gate there was a note saying thank you for your patience and kindness, and I had no idea what that was. We had a look at our tickets. I thought, oh no, somebody's going to have moved us and we'll be, next to the crying baby or next to the toilet. But no, they had upgraded us, which was amazing. And it was a really lovely Christmas treat, of course. But the first thing I thought was, there's going to be so much room. What do I do? There's nowhere I was going to sleep. Way too excited to sleep. So I decided to dig out my spindle. Yes. So I was walking along the aisle of a very quiet plane and just spindling as I was going. And one of the air hostesses comes by, and of course I expected them to be curious because it's not exactly the normal activity on a plane. And she says, are you making a hat? I said to her, patiently, as you do with somebody who's never seen a spindle before, I said, well, I'm spinning the yarn. I don't know what it's going to become yet. It could become a hat in the future. But really now it's just becoming yarn, slowly but surely. And she kind of nods and walks off. About 3 hours later, she sees me again. This time I'm kind of quietly sitting in my seat because other people were trying to sleep. And again, she looks at me and with her very sweet personality but kind of room temperature IQ says, are you making a hat? So, certainly, spindling, slightly confusing to some people. So what's the most bizarre thing you've ever heard? Leave a comment. I'd just be curious to hear, if you're knitting in public or if you're spinning in public, or what kind of things people have said to you. Let's see. Can I do this? Can I spin and talk to you at the same time? Let's try. The problem with trying to do this is that you're going to see quite how bad my technique is and quite how bad my posture is. Come on, channel your inner dancer, your inner Stephen West. Sit straight. So I'm not even sure exactly what fibre I'm spinning, to be honest. I dyed this last year, a very pale kind of candy floss pink with a lot of white left in. Just wanted to make something kind of nice and fluffy, and I think it could either be, it seems too soft for even merino, so I think it could be faux Angora or something like that. I don't think it's real Angora because I wouldn't have it in this kind of quantity. Um, Probably either quite nice and soft merino or faux angora, or could even be a blend of something. Unfortunately, I've never been very good at labeling my fiber, so a lot of it is kind of just random. I think I'll probably leave the yarn as single as it is and just wash it quite hard so that it felts to itself a little bit. And by felting, what happens is that it's a lot less likely to try to untwist itself, because it'll have, you know what felt is like, it kind of, the fibers hold together. And assuming that this is not a superwash fiber, that should work. So just for to qualify what I've just said, so a superwash fiber is a fiber that's been treated so that you can stick it in the washing machine, which is great when you're making stuff that's going to be for kids, or that just needs to, or for pets, that needs to be treated fairly roughly, washed fairly often. The superwashing process is a chemical process where you've all seen shampoo adverts where they show hair and you can see the little scales on the side. The superwashing process means that they basically burn off or kind of wax in those little scales so that the yarn no longer kind of has any grip onto itself, so it's a lot less likely to felt. Trust me, it is possible to felt superwash. It takes some bullying, but it's been known to happen. So a non-superwash fiber means that when you wash it, so you need heat and wet and movement. So those three factors together, for example, putting yarn or putting a garment into a hot washing machine, or putting it into the sink when you're just planning on hand washing something, that's when the felting can happen. So sometimes you'll want to felt on purpose, for example when you're making felted slippers, and you make big slippers, then you wash them heavily and they shrink and they turn nice and thick and dense. For example, this is a felted bag, so the bag was much bigger and much looser, and I washed it time and time again until it shrunk and turned into a nice thick felt fabric, and it means that my needles don't go through the bottom, because in normal knitted fabric it could probably slip through, but here it makes a nice thick fabric. Or it can happen unintentionally, like when your loved ones don't realize quite how they need to treat their hand knits, and they put them in the washing machine, and all of a sudden it looks like it's about the size of something your teddy bear should wear. So this fiber, mystery to me. I'm not sure what it is, but we'll find out when I wash it. Another tip, if you're not sure if you're dealing with a natural or man-made fiber, is get some fire. So taking a candle or a lighter and putting it near, not on, but near the fiber, you should be able to see whether it's man-made, like a acrylic, for example. Acrylic, which is made out of plastic, should melt and kind of make a little ball at the end, like melted plastic would behave. If it's a natural fiber, it'll smell a bit like burning hair, and it will light and it will self-extinguish. Because most types of wool are self-extinguishing, so that's why they're used often in insulation, because they won't suddenly poof go up in flame. So those are kind of the two different reactions. Of course there's now all sorts of other things like banana fiber and bamboos, and that would behave differently, but certainly as far as figuring out whether it's a man-made plastic-based fiber like acrylic or a woolen fiber, that's a good way. Just not set your house on fire, I'd feel really bad. And so ends today's very random lesson. You might remember just before Christmas I announced my plan for the new year, which was the battle against boring. And the aim of the battle against boring is to force us all out of our comfort zone a little bit, whether it's trying a new craft altogether or just trying something a little new, a new technique that will allow you to be better at what you do. Or it might just be trying colors that push you out of your usual comfort zone. And in order to encourage everyone to get started, I arranged a little giveaway. The wonderful Erin from Holland Handmade sent me 2 project bags, and I've kept one in which I've kept my exploration station, which has not had a whole lot of love over Christmas, but that's nothing to do with the bag. It's really cute, I like the inside fabric. And she's also sent me a second one, which is to give away. So Erin also has started her own podcast, so I'll include a link below, but you can also just look for Holland Handmade on YouTube. And this bag, which has, again, I like the inside, so cool, I'll be giving away to one of the lovely viewers who's posted in the comments on the previous YouTube video. So you've told me some of your objectives. A lot of people are trying new things, so trying to knit socks for the first time, or trying painting for the first time, trying pottery, all sorts of great things that I can't wait to see come to fruition. I'll tell you more about that in a little bit, but I picked at random out of the 60 comments that you left on the previous video, and the winner is, let me find her name, is Lina. So Lina Knits, who is based in Finland, and apparently also has a podcast about all things knitting, so I might include a link to hers as well in the description if I can remember. So I will be sending this colourful bag to Lina in Finland, and as I said, you can have a look at Erin's own podcast and her projects by following the links to Holland Handmade. Very soon I'll create a new thread on Ravelry, which will be the place to go post your finished objects. So with the battle against boring, the objective isn't necessarily to knit the biggest or make the most number of items. It's really about picking the things that are a challenge to you. Of course, only you know what's a challenge to you. So it may be that turning the heel of a sock is the thing that has just been a complete mental block for you. Or you might be wanting to try a new class. I mean, in January there were a lot of community college classes starting around here. So it'll be up to you to decide what counts. You can enter as many things as you like. For my own challenges, I've picked drawing and learning to do nice hand lettering as one of my challenges. So I want to try and make a finished piece. I have a frame, a picture frame that I've repainted that is currently empty and it's just sitting there. And my goal is to make something that can fill that frame and that I'm proud of enough that I'll be able to just look at it and be pleased with what I've done. So one is that hand lettering and drawing, and the second one is a food related one, and I want to try and master cold smoking. So cold smoking is where you take salmon, or you take cheeses, or you take garlic, anything like that, herbs, and you put them in a cold smoker and it takes on the smoky flavour. So it's something I've very lightly experimented with before, but I really want to see if I can make something that I'm really happy with. So again, I'll start a thread on Ravelry, but in the meantime, carry on, tell me in the comments what you've got in mind, and have a chat with the other viewers, because I can see you've all got such brilliant ideas. And with each battle against boring stage, I will aim to have some nice prizes. I can't tell you yet, but I'm working on lots of lovely secret stuff. Now, in terms of projects I've been knitting this week, I've got a whole bunch of stuff that unfortunately I can't show you yet because they're secret projects. They shouldn't be secret for too long, but for now I've got 2 to 3 things I can show you. So first, a finished object. I've completed my hedgehog fibers socks. So last week I was waxing lyrical about the fish-lipped kiss heel, and it is as great as I thought. And then I just finished them off. They were nice, simple, kind of regular decreased toes, and I've got a little bit of leftover yarn, so that's going in the bucket with all of the leftovers, and I've got a bit of a plan for those. Now, of course, you finish socks, what do? You cast on another pair of socks. So this one is slightly heavier weight in the KnitPicks Hawthorne Sport. This time I've decided to do toe up. The main reason is that being sport weight, there's not quite as much yarn. Of course, there'll be more than enough for a pair of socks for me, but I thought I'd start from the toes anyway, just for practice. So this is what they look like so far. And I was a complete idiot. As I cut the label out, I actually cut the yarn, and it turns out that I've split it into too many balls. So I now have 3 balls of yarn. It's just such a great colour. I really, really like it, and it's pooling a little bit. So I can, on this side, there's a lot of the bright blue, and there's none there, and there's none on the other side. It's a little bit less pronounced on the other sock, but you know what, I'm not going to worry about that. Originally my plan was to make slip stitch socks, which would have broken this up a little bit more, but I started while we were watching a movie and completely forgot about it and just went vanilla. I am making these on the 2.75mm Chiaogu needles, which I love, but having a feel, I think I probably could have gone with 3mm and a few less stitches because it feels a little bit stiff. So next pair, I've got more of the same yarn. I think next pair I will do 3mm and a few less stitches and see how it feels, if it feels a little bit more malleable. And finally, I have dug out from the project bucket, I've dug out my Gemini, which I'd been working on a little while ago. So this is a project from Knitty.com that dates back from a few years, and it's just a nice, very simple top that has a little bit of lace at the top, which can be worn at the front or at the back, and it's meant to be a very basic pattern, basically boxy and straight, but I don't do boxy and straight. So I have added a few decreases for the waist, and now I'm just starting on the re-increases. I've tried it on a couple of times and it feels like it's a good fit. I'm not sure I like the hem that just rolls on the stockinette side. It's not so bad on the lace side, but on the stockinette side it rolls quite a bit. I think it's meant to be part of the design. Not sure I like it, so I might add a little row of crochet on the inside to try and kind of pull it back. But we'll see when it's done, we'll see how it looks. I'm using the Easy Knits yarn that I ordered in August or so, and it's pooling a little bit funny. I'm not sure how much I like the pooling, but I think I'm currently working with 3 balls at the same time to try and balance out where the pooling goes, so that I don't have entire sections that are pure white and other sections that are very bright. It won't be very even. I can already tell that the top is contains much more dye, and there's a lot less as it goes down. So I'll just have to be zen and work with what the yarn has decided it wanted to do. So I'm quite happily zooming along with that, using my little trick where I just use a little strand of yarn to track my decreases and my re-increases. So should only be a little few weeks and should be done. So that's my current project. Rose, that's Rose, that's not helpful. Come on.
You don't have to tell me where you came from. All I know is I love
It's not a blanket. Right, now I've got to pack up and go because I'm heading into Cambridge. I'm off to eat some sushi. So have a good night. Bye-bye.